What's the key to getting a loud and punchy mix without distortion? Something that sounds like this. When I first got started producing music, I was always wondering why my music didn't sound as loud as all the other music I was listening to on my playlist or CD or whatever I had my song on. And I found that you need a limiter. Now, this is something probably, if you're watching this, you probably know that you need a limiter. And so what a limiter is going to do is it's going to set an out ceiling. In this case, we're doing -1, which is good for streaming. When I was, producing in the studio, we would usually do 0.2. But people recommend for like streaming now it's like -1. And so that's kind of what your ceiling is, and then nothing will go louder than that. That's going to prevent distortion. And what it will do then, you pull this threshold down and it turns all the other sounds up. And so those loud sounds are getting stopped, and then it's bringing up those quieter sounds. So it's kind of like a compressor, but with a super, super high ratio. And so what the limiter is doing is it's reducing that dynamic range. It's reducing the distance between the loudest sounds and the quietest sounds. And therein lies the secret to getting a louder mix. But a limiter is not all we want to use. Hey, I'm Reagan Ram, the owner and founder of Orpheus Audio Academy. And real quick, before we cover all the different steps you can follow to get a awesome, loud and professional mix, be sure to grab my free rapid song finishing checklist. I'll have a link to that in the description below. This is a proven step-by-step system you can follow to mix your song step-by-step so you always know what to do next and you're producing high-quality songs. This also includes some handy little EQ and compression cheat sheets to help you know how to EQ and compress all of your main instruments. So this is really handy, completely free. Grab it in the description below or go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/mixing checklist. All right, so we have the limiter here, and you always have this as the last plug-in chain on your stereo out or your mix bus, and that is great. But there is kind of a problem with this, as we'll play this and we'll look at the attenuation here and see what is being attenuated. And then here we just have the actual level here and metering it there. So you can see it's really mainly getting triggered by the drums, and mostly the kick and the snare. And that's fine, but that means everything else is kind of mostly untouched. And we want kind of a consistent attenuation level there. We don't want it to be spiky. One thing you can do is apply compression consistently across your mix, so the dynamic range of each individual element is nice and tight. But another secret weapon you can use is actually a clipper. So here I have a clipper plugin. There's a bunch of them out there. This one's by IK Multimedia. If you want to grab this, I'll have a link to it in the description below. And so what this does is it's kind of like a limiter, but whereas a limiter kind of stops the peaks, a clipper will actually cut off the top of the waveform. And so this can actually allow you to get more perceived loudness while reducing the actual loudness, if that makes sense. So it's giving you more headroom, and it allows for a little bit more transparent sound. You won't really get that kind of distortion that you would get with like a limiter. So let's hear this now. So let's just listen to this kick drum. So this is it without. So you can see or you can hear that it sounds louder, like thicker, even a little bit more aggressive. Like you can change the slope here. This is a hard clipping slope up here, and then here's a more soft clipping. So you can just adjust this to taste and see what you like. So here's what a soft would sound like. So I like that hard clipping sound better. And so we can hear that it sounds louder, but let's look at the actual meter over here. So it's subtle, but it's actually lower in volume. It's actually slightly lower in volume, but it sounds louder. So that's going to increase the perceived loudness so that the track as a whole sounds louder without actually getting louder and clipping and causing distortion and all that stuff. And by clipping, I mean digital clipping that sounds nasty, not this clipper plugin. And so I applied it to that kick, which I also put it on my snare bus here. So let's look at the snares here. Again, we can hear this without this in. So it's around like 12 to 9-ish in there. And then with it in, it's not getting past 12. So again, reducing that headroom a little bit, but it's sounding the same or even a little bit louder. And then I even applied some to the bass. So first we'll have it bypassed. And that's, you can really see it. It's going above 24 on the meter here, minus 24, but with it in, it doesn't go past 24. Just really tightens things up, makes them a little bit more punchy. Then lastly, I put a tiny bit of clipping on the master bus as well as stereo out. So now before I share with you the final result, I just want to share with you the sponsor of this video, Lander, and their studio plan is absolutely amazing. Not only do you get incredible samples like these, basically it's like a Splice subscription. Also, you get tons of amazing plugins. You can see some of them here, and I've reviewed several of these on my channel. But you also get awesome collaboration tools, mastering tools. It's also a distributor, so this can replace whatever distributor you have. It has tons of courses, and it's really affordable. And you can get 20% off your first year when you use my link. Go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/lander to sign up or to learn more about it. And this is what I'm using, and I absolutely love it. It's like an all-in-one toolkit for you and your music. Let's go to, I'm using this Infected Mushroom Pusher tool by Waves. I'm using the clipper here, and we're turning it up. I'm going to turn it up just to like 1 there, very subtle. I might turn up a little bit more. We'll see. And then we'll see here with the limiter how it's going to be a little bit more consistent with the attenuation, which allows us to get more push out of the limiter, brings more of those lower sounds up, and the perceived loudness as a whole is greater. And we'll get insight here. So it's definitely still pretty spiky because those are pretty punchy drums, but you can see there's more consistent attenuation going on here. Basically for pop music, you kind of want to aim between -8 and -10 LUFS. So that's how you can get a loud track. If you want to know how to finish more music and how to actually 10x your song output very, very easily, then check out my video on the screen right now, as it will share with you some ninja hacks to help you put out more music this year so you can be more prolific than ever before and start growing your fan base. With that, have an awesome day, keep creating, and I'll see you in a future video.